Hi there, my name is Miss Kelly. I am a virtual content specialist for social studies grades 3 through 5. And that just means that I help your teacher come up with some really wonderful and fun online lessons. Today, we're going to be doing a shared reading. That means we're going to read and think together. The text we're going to be reading is called Dunhuang, the City of Sands. Today, that story that we're reading together comes from a larger book called Stories from the Silk Road. This is retold by Cherry Gilchrist and illustrated by Nalish Mistry. I want you to pause here and take a look at this cover. What are you noticing? What do you see? I'm noticing a lot of intricate art, a lot of gold. I see a beautiful building. I'm getting the word wealth. Just looking at this cover, I'm thinking about wealth, people having a lot of money. I could see that these three people seem to be enjoying themselves. They have gold around them. They're eating and drinking. They don't seem to be stressed out. They're relaxing. And I know that the Silk Road was often traveled by people who were searching for this very thing, wealth. So, the story that we're reading today comes from that larger book, and we're going to learn a little bit about how difficult it was to travel the Silk Road, especially when you are traveling through the desert and need water. That's one of the biggest problems people face when they travel through a desert is having access to water and food. Here's a picture of the desert that we're going to be reading about today. We're going to be reading about the Taklamakan Desert. Here's a picture, and I want you to take a moment and imagine that you're there in the desert. How are you feeling? What are you thinking? I know that if I were in the desert, I would be feeling probably stressed out, tired, thirsty. If I didn't have enough water left, I would be worrying about where the next place we could find water would be. Seems like it's really dangerous to travel through a desert. And if you look up here, you'll see that this is exactly where that desert is. And this is where our characters are going to be traveling through in our story today. And they're specifically looking for this city, Dunhuang, because this city is going to be where they know that they can find the water that they need. Before we get started, we're also going to take a look at some vocabulary words that we'll see in our story today. The first word is the word vital. Vital means important. It means extremely important or needed. Vital. The next word is the word oasis. An oasis is a beautiful tropical space in the middle of a desert. There's a picture of an oasis. The next word is the word perched. And when you think about the word perched, I want you to do this motion. Do it with me. Perched. Perched. Perched means a bird sitting on a branch. But sometimes authors use the word perched to talk about something that's not a bird, but is acting like a bird. Perching on a branch. That is the word perched. And the last word is the word awning. Do this with your hands. Awning. An awning is a covering that usually protects people from the sun or the rain. Awning. All right, now that we've talked about the summary and some new vocabulary words we're going to learn, here's our focus question for our shared reading today. What were some problems or dangers of the Silk Road? How do you know? What were some problems or dangers of the Silk Road, and how do we know? Okay, I'm going to keep that in my mind as we read and see if I can answer that question. Will you do that with me? Great. All right, here we go. Dunhuang, the City of Sands. We've reached Angxi, the town marking the beginning of the Taklamakan Desert. Here you can go left or right around the desert, or even through the middle. But this isn't always a good idea. Many people say that Taklamakan means he who goes in does not come out. Travelers have always given special names to places along the Silk Road. Just to the north of the Taklamakan Desert, for instance, are the Celestial Mountains, snow-capped and beautiful. Near Khotan are the Greater and Lesser Headache Mountains, where your head can hurt badly as you climb higher and higher, and the air gets thinner and thinner. Water is a vital resource on the Silk Road. The caravans need to know where their next watering place will be, and the names of the oases give a clue as to the kind of water they offer. One Cup Spring, Bitterwell Halt, and Mudpit Hollow all warn us not to expect too much. Sometimes it's very hard to find the springs, and travelers have to search around for a tiny dip in the ground marked by a single stone. Even when they find the water, it may be bitter and brackish and not quench their thirst. Pause here and let's think about our focus question. Are we already seeing some problems or danger of the Silk Road? I'm noticing that water is a vital resource on the Silk Road, and the caravans need to know where their next watering place will be, and the names of the oases give a clue as to the kind of water they offer. They list these names and then they say they all warn us not to expect too much. So it seems like one problem is that you really need water, and even when you come across water, it might not be that much water. If we turned right at Anchi, we could go to the city of Turpan. 12 days hard travel with only nasty tasting water on the way. But in Turpan itself, there is delicious and cool water. It's brought there through underground channels from the mountains and flows around the town and its gardens. That's why they can grow such lovely fruit and vegetables there. If you come to Turpin at a pleasant time of the year, you'll probably call it the bright pearl of the Silk Road. In a biting cold winter, though, you might use the name Storehouse of the Wind. And on a summer's day, you may prefer to join the locals who retire to the underground rooms in their houses to escape the blistering heat. Some travelers have complained about terrible insects there, jumping spiders and poisonous cockroaches, but most people like Turpan and stroll around, shaded from the heat by awnings of reed matting, resting up before tackling the next stage of their journey. So it seems like when you're traveling the Silk Road, certain cities can provide a lot of relief, a lot of much needed relief. Cool water, shade, resources, food. But we're going to turn left and visit Dunhuang, the city of sands. Here are the famous Thousand Buddha caves filled with statues and offerings to the deities. You can see heavenly spirits painted inside the caves, gods and goddesses, celestial musicians, and flying angels, or apsaras. For hundreds of years, travelers have worshipped here and prayed for protection before they set off across the desert. Here, artists work by the rays of the morning sun or by the light of smoky lamps, painting new images to bring good fortune to nervous travelers. There is a beautiful little crescent-shaped lake at Dunhuang. It is perched up in the sand dunes, and no one is really sure how it came to be there or how it stays fresh and clear amid the blowing sands. When we reach Dunhuang, we sit for a while and listen to the story that the local people tell. Let's pause here again, and I want to go back to this paragraph right here, the second to last paragraph. Pause the video and think, is there something in this paragraph that helps you know that there were problems and dangers on the Silk Road? Go ahead and pause the video here and think about that. One thing that I noticed is that it says, for hundreds of years, travelers have worshipped here and prayed for protection before they set off across the desert. Well, if people really had to pray for protection before they set off across the desert, then it must have been dangerous. And if we go back to the earlier portion of our reading, we know that water was a vital resource that wasn't always available to the travelers of the Silk Road. So, one big problem or danger of the Silk Road is that there isn't enough water. Another problem could even be found over here. Hmm. Even when you're in a city, there are still some dangers. Poisonous cockroaches, a biting cold winter, blistering heat of the summer. Think about how you know those were the problems. What specific evidence from the text showed us that those were the problems and dangers? Pause the video here and see if you can find it. I know that some details that I have found is this sentence right here. Water is a vital resource on the Silk Road. It also says here, in the biting cold winter, you might use the name Storehouse of the Wind for Turpan. And on a summer's day, you might have to go down underground because the heat is blistering. And you also have to watch out for poisonous cockroaches. All right, at this point, we are going to think about that focus question and write a response for it. I want you to pause the video here and go into the work that your teacher has assigned you. This might be one of the questions they asked. You're going to pause the video here and you're going to respond to this question. You might use the sentence starter. Some problems and dangers of the Silk Road were. Some problems and dangers of the Silk Road were. Then you're going to list the problems and dangers. And then you're going to put a period and you're going to say, I know because, and then you're going to quote the text. Some problems and dangers of the Silk Road were. Answer the question. I know because, give those specific details. Go ahead and pause the video here and fill this out for your teacher, or grab a piece of paper and write it down. Third graders, I just want to say thank you so much for reading with me. I hope you enjoyed this story as much as I do, and I know that your teacher cannot wait to see the work that you have completed.